For our first story, we have a New York City woman who has filed a $10 million lawsuit against a mafia family over a son's vicious murder, has died in a Brooklyn car crash. She tried the Sue the Mafia strategy. She is now dead. These things are potentially connected. Suing the mafia, unless you're the U.S. government, is maybe not the greatest choice. The 70-year-old's son was murdered by members of the Colombo crime family, allegedly. A New York City woman who filed the $10 million civil suit against members of the mafia, organized crime family. I wonder if she used RICO and was parroting out the criminal RICO as part of the lawsuit. That'd be interesting. Who escaped life sentences in connection to the son's vicious murder. So the mafia people escaped penalties for it criminally, but she wanted a piece of her, and now she's dead. She apparently lost control of the wheel. The 2020 Range Rover she was operating veered to the left, hopped a curb, and barreled into a stanchion for elevated highway undergoing construction. Police and first responders arriving at the scene found her unconscious behind the wheel. I wonder if she made any dying declarations along the way that are not being reported in here. A future evidence problem is entering itself. This is a great evidence problem over here, because we have potentially a dying declaration from somebody who now we want to offer it as testimony against someone else, potentially, depending on what she said. And then if we want to use that in a civil case, well, that's one thing. If we want to use it, of course, in a criminal case, we do have a right of confrontation against one witnesses, but that right of confrontation against one witnesses doesn't apply when you are killing the witness to a crime. And so maybe we can squeeze her into that territory or something like that. So maybe there's a way around this. Maybe this is a future evidentiary issue in a future motion to suppress as part of a future RICO. Because of course, just because we charged them with RICO in the past doesn't mean that we can't charge them with RICO again. Because we can't obviously use the same predicate felonies more than once. So we can't do that. But I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to assume there have been more predicate felonies since then. So maybe we'll charge them with RICO on the basis of new exciting predicate felonies, and maybe this is one of them. And maybe her testimony will be offered, and maybe we'll have to determine whether or not it meets all those evidentiary rules. Fun and exciting. Let's read some more. The MPD is investigating the possibility she suffered a medical episode behind the wheel, and the medical examiner will determine a cause of death. But maybe the medical episode had something to do with her being assassinated. I don't know. The deadly crash reportedly happened 2 miles away from her home. Quote, our family is devastated and grieving over the loss of a beloved wife, mother, and grandmother. Also someone who had the balls to try to sue the mafia, perhaps fatally. Rose Gargano and her husband filed a civil lawsuit in 2018 against higher-ups in the Colombo crime family. Of course, her being dead, strictly speaking, doesn't terminate the lawsuit. Her interest in the lawsuit is now owned by her heirs. So the lawsuit can continue to persist despite the fact she's dead. So we'll see maybe if whoever her administrator of her estate is has any interest in continuing to persist this or not. Wonder if maybe they're more amenable than she was. She tried filing this lawsuit in 2018 against higher-ups in the Colombo crime family, including Joseph Compitelio and Dino Cablio. Both men were convicted in 1994 murder of the couple's 21-year-old son, Carmen Giordano. They get around. Brooklyn prosecutors said that they were acting on orders from Carblo to take care of it when they shot Giordano twice at a chop shop on McDonald Avenue before taking sledgehammers to the young man's body. Wow. But both men agreed to cooperate with prosecutors to avoid life sentences on multitudes of charges. So they only spent some time behind bars. So they were convicted of those offenses and served some time, serving 12 and 11 years, which seems a little insufficient for the mafia murder, but, you know, rolling up the lackeys to get to the higher-ups, a common strategy. The Garganos filed a $10 million wrongful death lawsuit in 2017. I'll never let it go, Rose said. Those guys changed my life and my family forever. She is survived by 3 sons, who I suppose will now have to decide whether or not they feel like continuing the lawsuit that was first brought by their mother to vindicate their deceased sibling. Thus, that wraps up the story, at least for the moment, of the New York City woman who has died in an accident. A total accident, who died in an accident at age 70 after trying to sue the mafia. As I said, the lawsuit can continue going on despite the fact she's dead. So it will be up to her heirs to determine whether or not they want to persist in this cause of action. And who knows, maybe some dying declaration words she may or may not have said as she was being hauled to the hospital where she was declared dead. Maybe some words may or may not be offered against some people at some point in the future, at some sort of trial, once we get past all the evidentiary concerns. But at least for a moment, that brings us to the end of discussion of this article. Thank you so much for being part of the Uncivil Law family. If you enjoyed this legal education content, please hit the subscribe button. It really helps the channel grow. We appreciate your continuing support. Until later, my friends, cheers and goodbye.